grew up in the industry. My dad's a director. So, like, our home was sometimes used as a set. You know, I'd come home and there'd be a whole shooting, you know, everyone was shooting, there's a camera, dolly, the tracks were laid out. I'd go to my room, I'd do my assignment, I'd step out, and, you know, I'd have big stars there who are setting up to do a love scene, you know, in our bedroom, which was turned into which was turned into a sala, the sala, which was turned into a bedroom. So I grew up in that sort of world already. I didn't want anything to do with it.
I'm really a musician more than a filmmaker. I always see myself as a musician first. Pero since iniwan ko yung career na yun sa music, ito na lang yung kaya kong gawin. So parang I've always enjoyed telling stories, and I think stories will always be important to everyone. So I'll just keep doing it.
Hey, Direk.
Hello.
I've always wondered, for you, when you're starting to write scripts, etc., do you think about the location? Do you have places in mind when you're doing that? I mean, is the architecture of the house already in play as you're... And does it change when you find yourself in the actual...
Yeah. It's always dependent on the story, of course. Yeah. Sa process ko, location is always the first thing. Pag sa prep stage. I always delegate pagdating sa production design. So I don't have a lot of... Unless na merong something plot specific dun sa design, usually I just let the designer take over and just show me what you have in mind. Palaging ganun. So I always value collaboration pagdating sa... when working with production designers. So yun, just give me your best idea. And then pag suwak dun sa vision, edi magkasundo tayo. Sa Quezon, since it's all about the political maneuvering ni Quezon, so meron kami mga eksena na set in Ayuntamiento, which is with the old lower house Congress. Importante doon yung mga chess games na ginagawa ni Quezon. And the thing with the Ayuntamiento location was checkered yung floors niya. So para siyang chess game. Pero hindi kami pwede mag-shoot doon. So binago ko yung location, naghanap kami ng something na sort of identical, pero we couldn't recreate the flooring na parang checkered. What we ended up doing was yung mga tables ng lower house members are darker shade, lighter shade, ganun-ganon. Pati yung mga suot nila was also matched to that.
So they were moving like actual chess pieces?
Yes. Yeah, sometimes I start with the location kasi importante sa kwento. Sometimes inuuna ko yung kwento and then maghahanap ako ng location na kung saan may express ko yung story. Siguro parang I imagine one person. Palaging ganun. Pag nagsusulat ako ng kwento, I imagine one person and matutuwa ba siya dito sa sinulat kong kwento? Parang ganun. We recreated this thing called the Malolas incident. Kung saan si Aguinaldo nagkaroon siya ng parade expecting people will support him. Pero actually, ang nandun is mga Quezon supporters and parang they raised black flags and certain... Basta pinahiya nila si Aguinaldo. Of course, hindi kami makakapag-shoot sa Bulacan kasi modern houses na lahat. So naghanap na lang kami ng location kung saan pwede namin ma-express yung parade na yun and yung sense of claustrophobia and doom na mararamdaman ni Aguinaldo.
As a director though, when do you make the decision for accuracy versus cinema?
Of course, kung historical kasi, palaging hahanapin ng tao yung accuracy.
Right.
Pero alam naman natin na hindi naman namin 100% magagawa yun. So,
Actually.
kung talaga hindi kaya yung accuracy, tema ang parang pinaka... Di ba, pag magsusulat ka ng kwento, yung tema, isa siya doon sa mga pinakauna eh.
Yeah.
So, yun din yung ginagawa kong basehan minsan. Ito yung tema, ano yung mga location na pwede nating gamitin para ma-express yung mga tema na yun.
That's the reason why I love this medium more than anything in the world, because it's so collaborative. It involves so many people. As a writer, if you're writing a novel or a poem or a short story, it's just you and that laptop, and then you put it out, and then that's it. Here, you're a script writer, but you know that that's not the final version of the film. It's going to change in pre-prod, post-prod, editing, all of that. And I love the whole anthropological, sociological aspect of it. There are certain locations that you see over and over again, and sometimes it can affect the way that you're watching a movie. Because hindi ba yan yung bahay sa Temptation Island ni Joey Goshenpia? Was the same house that I shot in when I was 5 years old, shooting Unfaithful Wife with my dad, you know? And it's like, that's the same house. And then that's the same house also used in 2 other movies. There are certain hotels, it's the same ones that you see. And sometimes, dumadami yung cinematic context ng isang place.
Yes, but that's also because maliit yung industriya.
Right.
Usually, ang first instruction ko sa kanila,
hanap ka ng iba?
Yes. Yung virgin pa na set. Palaging ganun yung sinasabi namin. So, may ginawa akong episode for segment ng Shake, Rattle, and Roll. Puneraria. It was the first Shake, Rattle, and Roll episode I did. Palaging memorable sa akin yan kasi ang kwento niya was set in a funeral parlor, di ba? So we had to shoot in an actual funeral parlor.
Yeah.
Ang problema doon, ang funny/problema doon was due to budget constraints, hindi namin mapasarado yung puneraria. So while we were shooting, habang nagdidirect ako, nagsushoot kami, may mga dumadaan na bangkay sa likod ko. Like every shooting day, palagi may bagong bangkay na dadaan sa likod ko. And then, may mga scenes na kung saan si Carla Abellana, who played the lead there, parang may dadaanan siyang room na may mga actual na bangkay doon. Pero syempre hindi namin papakita out of respect for the dead.
Right.
Pero sobrang nakadagdag siya doon sa vibe while we were shooting it. And I'm not sure, pero I don't believe in mga magic stuff doon. Pero I think it affected how we told the story also.
Yeah.
Because of the fact na ang daming hindi kaluluwa eh. Pero basta may certain atmosphere lang while doing the whole thing.
But in places like, for example, a funeral parlor, are they strict with like terms of engagement? Are there a lot of locations that are great cinematically, but there's a lot of strict rules that limit filmmaking? Okay.
In that specific case sa puneraria, parang okay lang sa kanila. Actually, nakakatawa kasi may isang eksena doon na kailangan namin mag-shoot ng casket. So may wake. Actually, sekreto to eh. Pero yung casket doon, actually may laman. May laman talaga siya. Pero pumayag yung pamilya.
Okay.
Okay lang. Naglagay lang kami ng photo ng iba. Yun, pinalitan na namin yung photo. Ayun.
But you shot an actual wake.
Yeah, and then I still remember yung smell ng,
Yeah, the embalming fluid.
Yun. Yan, naalala ko lahat yun. And I don't know. Saya.
Ako'y anak ng dalilan at ligib ng luha ang naritong tumihibig na bigyan ng awa.
I don't know. That's always when I teach Philippine film history. And what's interesting to me when I teach that class is when you show them all of these old Filipino films, classics, Anak Dalita, Biyay ng Lupa, and then of course the martial law films, the 1970s. And I was like, that's Makati before, that's what Makati looked like back in 1984.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden their eyes lit up and they're like, what's going on? Oh my God. And it becomes like this way for us to communicate
Okay.
with the past, with who we are. I think that's one of the reasons why it's dying, but it won't die. Because it's how, especially in the past 20 years, 30 years, it's how we've come to know ourselves.
Yeah.
How that thing called Tadhana, and all of a sudden everyone went up to Mount Pulag. You know, because that became a thing for them. I'm drunk, I love you. And all of a sudden everyone started to go to La Union. When you come into an occasion, what's the first thing that you do?
Literally the first thing I do,
Yeah.
I take out my 360-degree camera and just take photos at every angle na pwede. And then I make the decisions later on. Pero usually, you just try to get a feel of the place. Parang, na-imagine ko ba yung kwento dito?
The last few projects that you had were such big,
Yeah.
like huge budget, large scale films. So it has to be able to handle all of the requirements.
The worst and best example of that was yung tirad pass scene sa Goyo. Kasi sa taas ng bundok yun and we had to bring like hundreds of people up the mountain every day, tas bababa sila every day, ganun, trauma. Never again. Ayoko nang gawin yun ever. Pero ano, at the end of the day, ano siya, parang worth it siya para sa akin. Sobrang importante yung bundok kung saan namin gagawin yun. First was we went up Tirad Pass twice just to check kung ano yung itsura niya. And then because we knew that we couldn't shoot there, naghanap kami ng mga ibang bundok kung saan identical yung mga features and logistically possible. Parang gaano karaming tao ang kailangan natin dalhin dito.
Right.
Palaging ganun.
What about, for example, the house in Bliss?
Okay.
The house in itself as a character.
Oo. Yun, nasa kwento talaga yun. Kasi ang impression dapat nun is parang trap yung character
Yes.
sa utak niya and dun sa bahay. Tinulungan niya ng production design kasi the house itself had a lot of windows. So what Monica did was nilagyan niya ng mga papel lahat ng windows. So may white paper lahat. Talaga para kahit ba nakikita mo yung bintana, wala kang makita sa labas. It's all washed out na ano. So yeah, that helped. Pero that also added to our own claustrophobia while shooting the film. Kasi halos parang hindi kami makahinga at ang init-init.
And I think it really helped create that mood in that movie. I mean, but did the house, was that exactly how you imagined or written the house? Or did it change?
Hindi. Minsan ako yung nag-a-adjust.
Okay.
Oo. Kasi if the story is flexible enough for those kinds of adjustments, then ako yung mag-a-adjust. So sa utak ko, mas maliit yung bahay, mas claustrophobic siya. But we ended up finding this two-story house na halos mansion.
Yes.
Sabi ko, sige, mag-work pa rin to. Pero yun nga, the windows have to be closed. And,
To create that claustrophobia.
yeah.
We are so, as a people, we're so used to being 3 steps behind Hollywood. You know, that
Yes.
we're more accepting of what we see. How many MMFF movies that have I seen in full cinema where the effects are not malinis, but the audience is eating it up.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we as filmmakers can become more demanding than what our audience are, which I think is a good thing.
Honestly, I never think about my audience as much as possible kasi that will lead to a lot of compromises sa storytelling.
The whole point of a movie is for us to be able to discuss our opinions and our perspectives, because a movie in itself is a perspective. It's a point of view. When we start to look at it and deny something because it has nothing to do with us, that becomes scary.
I just hope na even if the audiences become smaller and smaller, I just hope na may capacity pa rin ang pelikula na mag-spark ng conversations. Kasi yung conversations na yon lead to identity formation. And yun yung mahina sa atin as a culture. Kung ano ba tayo as Filipino.
Storytelling is our most natural form of communication. Our very first communicating tool is storytelling. And I love that because it tells us that we're all connected. It takes a community to build a film. And then that film is given to another community. The unspoken truth is that art, film, as an art form, is history. Art tells us how things really felt, how things really were, through the perspective of the artist.
Hindi na ako nangangarap na sana kasing culturally relevant pa rin ang pelikula as before. Hindi na ako nangangarap na gano'n. I'm just hoping na nandun pa rin yung art form na yon. And at some point, may mga tao na mag-uusap pa rin about film dahil yun yung magpo-form ng identity natin.
A lot of the film students come in and it's like, film is life. And it's like, no, film is about life. But it's not life. It's a reproduction. It's a perspective. It's a point of view. The unspoken truth that I think that we never talk about is that a really good film lasts forever. And so we have to take very good care about how we make that image and how we view that image.